TV in high definition. This is News 3.
He needs to stand up. He's the governor. Does he want a record like the other governors, or does he want to be a good governor?
Angry state union workers take to the streets protesting the governor's decision to cancel their pay raises. Good evening. Hundreds of AFSCME union members formed picket lines across the state today. There were protests at more than 75 work sites across Illinois. 8 of the pickets in our region, including in Anna, Marion, and Pinckneyville. News 3's Emily Finnegan spoke with some of those workers, and she's here with details on what they're saying. Emily.
Well, Ethan, the AFSCME workers believe they're entitled to a 2% pay raise because it was part of a contract they negotiated with the governor. 30,000 union employees stand to lose that pay hike. Quinn says the state just can't afford it because lawmakers didn't include money for it in the new budget. AFSCME insists it's illegal for the governor to go back on his word.
Governor Quinn, keep your word! Governor Quinn, keep your
word! Union members spent their lunch hour Tuesday on the picket line, sending a clear message to Governor Quinn.
We don't live in Ohio!
In Anna, AFSCME workers gathered outside Choate Mental Health Center, where more than 400 employees stand to lose their scheduled pay increase.
And I'm not asking for a pay increase. I'm asking to keep the one that was arguing. He wants to take it away.
In Marion, the protest staged outside the Department of Human Services. Workers say they've done their part to help the state save money.
We've made concessions. We're taking voluntary furloughs. We've deferred our raises. You know, we're not even up to our standard raises that we're supposed to be.
AFSCME doesn't buy the governor's explanation that Illinois can't afford the 2% increase. Quinn blames legislators who didn't include the funding in the new budget.
He should have spoke up when the lawmakers was doing the budget, and I think that's a cop-out answer, if you want my honest opinion.
He never lobbied for more money or to try to correct this problem before it got to him.
Senator John O. Jones serves on the bipartisan legislative committee that could overrule the governor and order the raises. The committee hasn't discussed the issue yet, but Jones indicated he'd vote to give AFSCME the money.
I'm from the old school. When you shake hands, you've got a contract. When you sign your name, you've got a contract, and it's a binding contract.
The union agrees and insists Quinn needs to step up and honor their contract because they won't be backing down.
If we don't stand and make a statement and just lay down like a sleeping dog, it's not going to change things.
Last week, AFSCME filed a federal lawsuit to force Quinn to pay for the raises. They've also called in the arbitrator who oversaw the contract negotiations. He has the authority to resolve disputes.
And what about that legislative committee? When might they decide on this issue?
Well, the committee actually met today, but they did not take up the issue of the raises because they just received information about that on Friday. So the earliest we'd see a ruling would be in August.
Okay, Emily, thanks. Let's get your first check on weather now. Another scorcher and now some storms. Jim.
Yeah, heat and humidity combining to be fuel for pop-up thunderstorms this afternoon. No reports of any severe weather yet, but we have seen some very strong storms very close to many of us here in southern Illinois. We'll take a look at Storm Commander and what is going on right now. Most of the activity has been north of I-64. Starting to see a little more popping up south of I-64 right now. And real quickly, I want to zoom in on a couple of these spots. We'll start off in Jefferson County, where a big storm is moving right along the interstate and moving towards the north side of Mount Vernon. Again, no reports of severe weather, but a storm that is firing up rather quickly. Another one that has gone from a little bit of nothing to very strong just in a few minutes is in the northeast corner of Williamson County, firing up right on the Williamson-Franklin County line. We'll continue to monitor that storm. And we're also seeing more and more in the way of outflows as these storms are firing up and collapsing. We're seeing the winds blowing out from those are the little blue rings, and many times they'll work like little miniature cold fronts and work to trigger more storms. And real quickly, we'll shift into southeast Missouri. A little bit of activity firing up there as well. One in Cape Girardeau County. You can see it not moving very much. And I think that may be one of the concerns we'll have to deal with. And that is slow moving storms producing some locally very heavy rains. Quickly checking on lightning. There is a lot of lightning to our north, but even a few strikes showing up with these storms developing just in the last few minutes. Of course, when lightning is around, move inside and you'll be much safer. Small risk of severe weather as we move through the evening. We do expect more pop-up storms, and we'll talk about that in the forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Jim, thanks. Marion police are still trying to track down a suspect in last Friday's deadly shooting. 46-year-old Marcus Monroe was gunned down outside of a bar on the south side of Marion. At a news conference late this afternoon, investigators said they believe there are people with information who simply will not step forward and speak. Detectives say more than 50 people were in the parking lot of Pips 2 bar when that shooting happened, so someone must have information that could help the investigation.
Don't allow those who can selfishly and senselessly take a life continue to walk amongst you. They don't deserve that freedom.
Marion police urge anyone with information to contact them at 993-2124. Callers can remain anonymous. Some neighbors are now calling on Marion to shut down the Pips 2 bar where Monroe was killed, but city leaders say it's hard to hold the owners responsible for things happening outside their establishment. News 3's Andy Waterman has the story.
Over the last couple of years, Pips 2 bar on the south side of Marion has seen its fair share of serious police calls. Marion police records show there was an aggravated assault call there on June 24th, along with an arrest for unlawful use of a weapon. Last year, there were battery complaints and an arrest for unlawful possession of a weapon by a felon. All those calls have given the bar's neighbors an uneasy feeling.
I suggest it needs to be closed down. Unless they get more security out there, cameras out there. If cameras had been out there, cameras would have picked up something.
Marion Mayor Bob Butler says it's important to point out that none of the problems happened inside the bar. They were all in the parking lot. And the owners of Pips 2 have been operating responsibly.
The owner has not done anything to create the situation that we have there. But nonetheless, it is something that has to be addressed, and we will undertake to get it under control one way or another.
Butler says he does have the power to pull the bar's liquor license, but because the owners have been compliant, he has no reason to do that. And he says that wouldn't necessarily prevent trouble.
If it is closed, then the drinkers who are going to be active are going to simply move someplace else. And if there is going to be an incident, it will occur someplace else rather than here.
Leaders have talked about policing the neighborhood around Pips Bar more, even though it's already in a highly patrolled area. In Marion, Andy Waterman, News 3.
This afternoon, the manager of Pips 2 told us bar workers are heartbroken about the death of Monroe, who was a regular and never caused any problems. A police officer in Thebes finds himself on the other side of the law. 39-year-old Terry Crow faces charges of official misconduct. State police arrested him last week after investigating allegations of inappropriate conduct while Crow was on duty at the Thebes Police Department. So far, no other details are being released. Crow is now free on $100,000 bond. A Franklin County murder trial is in the hands of a jury now, but no verdict yet. The jury started deliberating the fate of Afton Ferris early this afternoon. Ferris is accused of shooting and killing 2 women in West Frankfort in October of 2009. News 3's Kristen Craig has been covering the trial. She joins us live from the courthouse in Benton with the latest. Kristen?
Eden, it was a disappointing afternoon for the families of Candace Majors and Terry Seebeck. Everyone expected to know a verdict by tonight, but after only 4 hours of deliberations, the jury requested to be dismissed for the day because of the heat. The air conditioner broke and it got to be more than 80 degrees upstairs. However, during closing arguments this morning, Afton Ferris's defense team tried to pin the murders on Ferris's boyfriend, Michael Shallert. They said she originally confessed to shooting Terry Seebeck to take some of the heat off Shallert. Defense attorney Matt Vaughn said, "The truth is, Mike Shallert killed both of these ladies, someone whose masculinity had been challenged by a lesbian." He went on to say, "We have someone here who's subservient to Mike Shallert. She's his pawn. Blindly, she follows." When it was the prosecution's turn, State's Attorney Evan Owens reminded the jury of Ferris's confession, when the first thing out of her mouth was, "We hated them." She went on to say Terry was moaning and groaning, so I shot her in the left eye. Ferris faces 6 counts, including first-degree murder, home invasion, and burglary. The jury is ordered to show up here at 9 a.m. tomorrow to begin jury deliberations. It so happens Michael Schaller was in court today as well, and his trial is set for September. We're live in Benton tonight. Kristen Craig, News 3.
Thank you, Kristen. Also on the court watch, more than a dozen witnesses were called to the stand today in a Williamson County murder trial. Marcus Marshall is accused of killing LaQuinn Hudson of Marion last August. Hudson was shot and killed at a party at his house on Liberty Street. Defense witnesses said they were with Marshall at that party. They testified today that Marshall did not shoot Hudson, which contradicts the prosecution witnesses who say they saw Marshall fire the weapon. The defense plans to wrap up its case tomorrow with a forensics expert. New Madrid County authorities are waiting autopsy results on 4 people killed in a fire. A home near Morehouse went up in flames on Friday. 2 women, a man, and a 1-month-old child were killed. The victims' names still have not been released, and the cause of the fire remains under investigation, though foul play is not suspected. Williamson County is raising health care costs for its employees. Today, the county board voted to increase worker health insurance payments by 10%. The board tabled many other topics of discussion today. Commissioner Brent Gentry says they've been debating how to implement a better recycling program for the county, but so far there's no consensus on a solution there.
It's more detailed than just going in there talking about it or arguing about it. We have to get to the bottom of it and work it out and do what's best for the taxpayers.
Another issue tabled today, changing the bed tax that helps pay for the Williamson County Pavilion in Marion. Commissioners hope to reach a decision on that by their next meeting. Well, you can help feed the hungry across southern Illinois during our summer food drive. Coming up, here from a local pantry about the families in need in our communities and how people are staying cool as extreme heat bakes the region. You're watching News 3.
News 3 in HD, your Southern Illinois news leader, with Eden Schultz, meteorologist Jim Razor, and Darren Kennard.
A lot of us just stay in the air conditioning when it's so hot like today. Others find more creative ways to cool off. The swimming pool in Marion was busy with people trying to keep cool, with temperatures approaching triple digits this afternoon. Even the pool water was around 90 degrees, but that didn't stop people like Joseph Wilkins from diving in.
Dealing with the heat by coming to the pool. That's pretty much what we do. We work at the fair down the road here, and it's very hot out there. You know, no shade, no trees, so we stay in little bunkhouses. It's hot.
The Marion pool's open Monday to Friday, 12:30 to 8, and weekends from 12:30 to 7. The state is opening its buildings to anyone who needs a place to escape the extreme heat. Illinois office buildings designated as cooling centers are open in every county. To find a location near you, you can log on to the website you see there on your screen, keepcool.illinois.gov. The state is streamlining the process to get environmental permits. Today, Governor Pat Quinn signed legislation making it easier for businesses to file necessary paperwork with the Environmental Protection Agency. Some business will be able to register online and not have to go through a lengthy application process anymore. The governor says the new measure will get businesses working and hiring faster, boosting the Illinois economy without sacrificing environmental protections. And back to that hot weather. Looks like it won't be quite as hot in the next couple of days. Jim's forecast is coming up right after this.
Putting accuracy first, this is News 3 weather.
Heat and humidity once again combining to make things very uncomfortable to be outside. Heat index values today way over 110. Saw a couple of readings up around 115 degrees for a while this afternoon. And now we're seeing a little more thunderstorm activity. Again, the combination of heat and humidity. We've got some very light air rising rather quickly, and that will sometimes lead to this. We also have a weak front coming our direction, a lot of outflows. So the chance for thunderstorms is likely going to last through the evening, and I think through most of the overnight. It will drop considerably after sunset. but I would not rule out a pop-up thunderstorm even later on tonight. Now, where we're seeing some of the thunderstorms, some of the outflows, especially the rain, temperatures getting cooler. 81 in Mount Vernon, 73 over around Evansville, Indiana, while it's 94 in Paducah and still 97 degrees in Poplar Bluff. So you can tell the cooler air, of course, coming in from the north, so we're seeing more shower activity and cooler temperatures there. 81 in Chicago, 77 out in Omaha, North Platte, Nebraska, 71, while Little Rock is showing 100 degrees. And while we're talking about this weak front, very slowly moving, kind of wobbling between a stationary front and a cold front, while it may move through for 24 to 36 hours, it does look like it is going to bounce right back almost just as quickly, and we'll be right back into heat and humidity before the end of the week. You can see a very strong flow in satellite imagery coming off the Gulf of Mexico, which means not just heat coming up, but even more humidity. So it does look like it is going to remain very uncomfortable. That one little break coming up maybe late tomorrow on into a bit of Thursday. Off to the north, some shower activity, most of it in Iowa, moving more towards Chicago than here at home. But there's a little bit of activity north of St. Louis. You can see drifting to the south. Another reason I think this stationary front will make a little wobble to the south, and we'll see a chance of thunderstorms all evening long. Dallas is still 99, while up around Minneapolis at 76. Our thermometer has moved from 79 to 99, so warmer than normal all day long. The record high, though, goes all the way up to 109, set in 1830. Nothing in our rain gauge today. Currently in Marion, a Longfellow School live update coming in, 93 degrees over dew point of 74. The heat index still running around 103. A little bit of a breeze out there showing out of the east, 6 to 7 miles an hour. The big wind gust today, only 12 miles an hour. Skycast showing the chance for thunderstorms. We're paused here on 7 o'clock, maybe a little overdone, but I think it's pretty close. But it also shows those storms dying off later tonight. Most of the activity will likely go away, but a renegade storm is still possible. I put a pause on tomorrow afternoon. There's a very broken line running basically along the Ohio River. The Adonis model not showing much activity. I think we'll see a little more than that tomorrow, midday to early afternoon. And then I think the chance will fall off late in the afternoon and the evening as that slightly cooler air bumps in for just a brief time. Temperatures tomorrow a little cooler because of the clouds, a chance for rain, but by Thursday, Friday, and on into Saturday, you can see it is a return of very hot air expected to roll this way. For tonight, it's a chance of storms early and a few storms after midnight, low only around 75. In and out of the chances for storms tomorrow, high around 90 degrees, a little break from the heat on Thursday, and I mean very little break. Friday and Saturday, expect the heat to roll back in, and with lows in the 70s, it's not just hot, Eden, it is hot and humid weather that is moved in and going to stay in.
Keep the air conditioner cranked if you can.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim. Well, many people in the Chicago area are battling the heat without air conditioning right now because the power's out. Yesterday, powerful storms knocked out service to more than 850,000 people. As of this afternoon, some 300,000 are still without power. ComEd says it will be several days before all service is restored. The utility has brought in some 900 repair crews, including many from surrounding states, to restore things faster. We'll take a break. Sports is coming up right after this.
This is News 3 Sports in HD.
The 82nd Major League All-Star Game is less than an hour away from starting in Phoenix. There will be 6 players representing the Cards, Cubs, and the White Sox this year. Lance Berkman and Matt Holliday of the Cards will both be in the starting lineup for the National League. Berkman will be making his 6th All-Star appearance. Holliday his 5th. Now this will be, while Berkman has been there 6 times, that's 1 more than Holliday, but it will be the Pumas' first as a Redbird.
To be recognized as one of the best players in the league or among the best players in the league is certainly humbling, and it's a neat opportunity to get to meet some guys that you've competed against that you don't know personally. So it's just a great event.
Well, I try to work hard. I've been blessed with some talent. The Lord has given me the ability to play the game, and I try to make the most out of it by working hard and practicing and doing all those things to try to do the best that I can.
Now, Yadier Molina will join Berkman and Holliday as a reserve. Starlin Castro, also a National League reserve. He's the Cubs' lone rep after third baseman Aramis Ramirez turned down a chance to be added to the roster. Carlos Quentin and Paul Konerko will come off the bench for the AL. First pitch set for sometime after 7. The Southern Illinois Miners have pulled off a 4-player trade during the Frontier League All-Star break, swapping former All-Stars with Lake Erie. The Miners are sending center fielder Jeremy Millens and pitcher Thomas Campbell to the Crushers for first baseman Gordy Gronkowski and center fielder Scott Hohen. Millens is the Miners' all-time stolen bases leader, but has struggled this season, hitting just .246. Gronkowski, meanwhile, has not played at all this season. He did hit 16 homers in 46 games with Gateway last year before being traded to Worcester in the Can-Am League. Hohen is hitting .286 in 30 games for the Crushers this season. Chicago Bears tight end Greg Olsen may not be getting ready for training camp right now as the NFL lockout continues, but this past weekend he found a productive way to spend his time. Olsen's charity kickball tournament in Chicago Saturday drew some teammates and celebrities. Brian Urlacher and Matt Forte were some of the Bears taking part, as well as Vince Vaughn and Kevin James, some of the celebrities on hand. But Olsen's mother, Susan, was the real star and the inspiration behind the Olsen family's Reception for Research Foundation. Susan is a 9-year breast cancer survivor, and she served as designated pitcher in the Kicks for Cure event.
We were trying to think of ways that we could do our part to, support other families who were facing the same things that she was 10 years ago. So that was why we started the foundation, and since then it's really taken on a life of its own.
The kickball tournament is held in Chicago's Grant Park. More than 1,000 players participate each year.
Pretty cool place to play a little kickball,
You better
huh?
believe it.
Not a bad venue. Thank you, Darren. We'll be right back. Well, we're about halfway through the WSIL Summer Food Drive, collecting donations for area food banks all this month. One of those, the Heron Community Food Pantry. It's located on North 17th next to the North Side School in Heron. Shelves are stocked right now, but that's because the pantry just went on a several $100 shopping spree. Director Peggy Dennison says she's seen a surge of young people coming in asking for help recently.
We have so many young ones coming in, 20s, 30s, and their children are home now, so it takes more for the kids whenever they're at home.
We have food collection containers set up at grocery stores across the region, including all Southern Illinois Kroger's. Just drop donated items into those Channel 3 bins as you leave the store. You can find a list of participating stores and pantries on our website, WSILTV.com. Jim is keeping an eye on the storms.
Yeah, a little more activity to look at right now. Storm Commander showing what looks like to me a line developing there from Mount Vernon back to around Chester. That line will slowly move to the east and sort of sag to the south. There is a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for our northernmost counties. Runs until 9 o'clock, so I'll be here all evening bringing you any advisories that are posted.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for joining us. Entertainment Tonight coming up next. We'll see you again at 10. Have a good evening.